Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you. You're watching Encounter. Today, our guest is Jennifer Fu. She is a holistic wellness facilitator. Jennifer, very warm welcome to you.
Hi, Roshan. Thank you very much for your warm welcome.
As I always ask my guests about what they do, what is a wellness facilitator?
So, a wellness facilitator is someone who helps and support and guide people to have well-being on all levels, whether it's through things that they need to change, whether food or exercise, or what they can do to help control more of their mind, to control their emotions, or on an energetic and spiritual level.
So, what happens when someone comes to see you? You listen to them initially. What happens then? How do you make a decision? Do you have an example of how it works out?
So generally after they share to me with what is not functioning through a series of questions, we work together to find the root cause of what is creating that particular issue. Because if we're not able to find the source of it and we're just treating the symptoms, it's going to be a temporary relief, but it won't be effective. So once we figure out what are the root cause, and oftentimes they're multi-layered. So we need to address them, whether it's through massage and physical manipulation, through therapeutic body work, or also through reprogramming the mental, through guided meditation, but that's also like a form of hypnosis, where we reprogram our conditioning and belief systems. Because what we don't realize, most of us, is that our conditioning is created from 0 to 7 years old.
Yes.
So whatever we've learned there, consciously and unconsciously, it's what's then ruling our life now. So that's why even if consciously we want to try to change a pattern that we may not like in our life, we find that we can't do it. It's because the subconscious programming is overruling our conscious mind. So, and then we also combine emotional healing as well through the form of getting connected to what we call the inner child, and then also looking at potentially as well on the spiritual level, it could be through a form of regression, whether through this lifetime itself or oftentimes in past lives, where there are experiences that we might have experienced in our past lives, if people do believe in past life and reincarnation, that is also still affecting us. Or it could also be on a level of the family, generational and ancestral healing as well.
The lineage of what's coming on, yeah.
Because the conditioning comes from our parents. We unconsciously learn what they do, which they also learn from their parents. So sometimes whatever is not functioning here, it's something that started way back. So that's why once we realize it, we can heal it. And what that does as well, it also, when we change here, it's also helping to heal the generation back, but also the generation forward. Because when we change the energetic, it affects everything. And that's why, again, when we call about holistic, is whatever we're doing on ourselves actually influences everybody around us. Because on a vibrational scale, from 0 to 1,000, love sits at 500. So they say that one person vibrating at the vibration of love can influence 750,000 people around the world.
Oh, fantastic. So you listen to people, that's kind of a little bit of a psychologist, a little bit, and then you're able to help people do hypnosis or past life regressions also, and add to that energy manipulations. Are you the only one who's able to do so many things in Mauritius?
I'm not sure. So far, I haven't met anybody else that does as much of a wide spectrum as I do. I know different practitioners that do combine different things as well. But on such a holistic scale, I'm not aware. But if there is someone out there, I would be more than happy to be in contact with them, so they can feel free to look me up and find me, and we'd love to discuss more with them.
Jennifer, one of the main focuses of this season for the Encounter, and I thank you again for being present and sharing your wisdom, is mental health, which is a major issue which causes stress, disease, and I find that very recently, people are more focused on going outdoors, going into hikes, and more worried about their own mental state. Is it something that you have also noticed recently, and people coming to see you?
Yes, especially with the pandemic in the past year and a half, mental health has really, I would say, had a big punch in a way. Because people all of a sudden found that their comfort zone and what they were used to, they couldn't do anymore. And also when we're in lockdowns, depending on our circumstance, our environment, who we're with, and our mental state, really then creates, do we live it as a positive thing or as a negative thing? If often people look at me and they're like, I think you're probably one of the rare person that really found the lockdown to be enjoyable and of benefit. Because for me, I ended up using it as a retreat, where I really went and looked into myself, what is not functioning, what I'm not happy about, and change it. I ended up learning more about nutrition and food, but also how stress and emotional well-being really impact our physical health. And I ended up losing 25 kilos.
So every difficulty, every challenge is an opportunity.
Exactly.
To probably self-discover oneself better. Yeah. Once you're done with the talk and you do the, let's say, whether it's regression or energy manipulation, do you have a specific time how long it takes for a person, or it varies from case to case when someone comes to see you?
It varies from case to case. Some people might just come for one session. They receive what they need, they shift what they need, and then maybe that's enough for them. Other people, if they really feel that it's something, especially that it's long-term, that they haven't been able to change, it might take some more work. But it also depends how committed the person is to transformation. Because what I've noticed in my practice is that oftentimes people are not happy with what is happening. They want change, but they don't want to change. They want everything around them to change, but they don't want to do the work on themselves. Or other people will say, I'll come and see you, once a week, and you'll do the work for me, but they're not willing to do the work on themselves. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, even with these people, I maybe even be the one that say to them, maybe our journey together should end here. Because otherwise, I'm investing my time and energy in helping them, but then they're not willing to invest the same for themselves. Because I can say, come and help you. The way I sometimes explain to people what I do, it's like, I come and I help you clean what is not, it's like either someone come and clean your house, but I'm helping you clean the different aspects of you. But then when you go home, what you do, it's like if you have a cleaner that comes and cleans your house once a week, but then you don't do the dishes, you don't take the rubbish out, and you just wait for that person to come, then it becomes tricky. So every time it's like, when you come, I clean whatever's come that way. But we don't go further than that.
So you're always coming back to square one.
Yeah.
In a way, you're always coming back to square one. When it comes to holistic health, we are looking beyond the physical body and are addressing physical, emotional, social, spiritual, and intellectual health. All of these 5 aspects of holistic health are what enables a person to truly live each day in the healthiest, happiest way possible, and if one area is compromised, most likely other areas will be as well. Physical. Our physical health is what most people think about when they think of health. This is mostly because it is the physical body that often shows us physical signs and symptoms of either optimal or suboptimal health. These physical signs and symptoms are also easier to track and measure versus other non-physical signs and symptoms that can feel more abstract. Emotional. While often overlooked, our emotional health is just as important as our physical health, especially because our emotional health can affect our physical health if it is not prioritized. Ways you can support your emotional health: seek out therapy when needed, practice mindfulness and stress reduction habits, keep a journal to record your thoughts and feelings. Social. Research has shown that the happiest people on earth have deep connections with their friends, family, and community. This is often why religion is connected with happiness, as it can provide a deep sense of community and support no matter what faith a person chooses. Ways that you can support your social health: make time for in-person connection, get involved in your local community, set boundaries with people in your life that may increase stress or bring about toxic energy. Spiritual wellness does not necessarily mean that you need to become religious, although the two have often been overlapping practices and principles. Instead, your spiritual health should focus on how you're connecting with your inner soul and the greater world around you. Ways you can support your spiritual health: spend time in nature, spend a few minutes each day meditating. If you're religious, take time to practice your faith. Mental. The last aspect of holistic health is our mental health, which often overlaps with both our emotional and physical health. The big distinction between our mental and emotional health, though, is that while our emotional health refers mostly to our daily mood and emotions, our mental health refers to our cognitive abilities that affect how our brain functions. Jennifer, you also have yoga classes every Wednesday, you mentioned, and Om chanting. Why is it important for you or for you to encourage people to practice yoga?
So for me, the reason why I personally teach yoga is not so that people come once a week and we do a series of yoga postures and asanas, but it's really to help people to become aware of themselves, to really know themselves and how they function, and to use the practice of what we're doing on the mat once a week to really benefit their whole life. So it's how, when we're doing the yoga, to really become aware of the breath. And as we learn to really be in control of the breath, because the breath is one of the things that function naturally. We don't have to think, I need to breathe, how many times I need to breathe, but it's also one thing that we can control. And as we learn to control the breath, we also then learn to control our mind and then eventually our thoughts. And when we learn to align the breath with the movement, we learn to align the different aspects of ourselves. Because oftentimes we're in inner conflict because each aspect of us wants to go in a different direction. But it's hard to bring all of these aspects of the self to go in the same direction. So yoga can really benefit people on a physical level, where it's really, okay, how to relax. Oftentimes it's like having a body massage without going and seeing someone. It's like doing it for the self. So it relaxes the muscles and how the holding patterns that we have. And oftentimes people will realize they'll go and do yoga, but then emotions might come up. It's because things that we've experienced in the past are trapped in the cells of the body. And as we're stretching and flexing them, all of these stuck feelings and emotions start to become undone. And even also the way that we do, how we move our body, it's patterns of behavior. So once we change that, say, oftentimes when people they start doing, and they do the movement very mechanically and very quickly. And I say, slow it down. Realize the difference. Because when you're doing it with awareness, because what they do, it's a reflection to how they live their life. And where in the mat, they become aware. Let me be more mindful. That's what then they take in their life, to be more mindful every moment of every day. So it's not so much this practice of once a week, but it's really, how do you take this from this and implement it in all of the areas of your life? That's really what's going to create the transformation on all levels. But also the different exercises and postures help to work on balancing the energy body and the aura and the chakras, which also indirectly governs different areas and parts of the body and areas of life.
Wow. You call yourself a holistic wellness facilitator. I'll focus on the word facilitator now. How do you feel when you're able to help someone? Because you're a facilitator at the end of the day, right?
Yes. For me, I find it very meaningful and fulfilling. Oftentimes even now when people discover what I used to do for work, when they see the pictures of my portfolio of doing hair and makeup, they're like, why don't you still do that? Why don't you open a salon? And I'm like, yes, I could still do this. But for me, I don't find it as fulfilling. Because when we really can help someone, especially if it's either a chronic physical issue, a disease, or some other kind of problems that they've been stuck on for years and years. And for them to just come in that moment and, have this shift, it can truly change their life. Sometimes 360 degrees around, if that's what they want, and to living a fulfilled life.
One of the other activities that you also practice and facilitate is the Om chanting. I've had the opportunity to participate in one of those sessions, and it was definitely very powerful. But I will let you give more details on the Om chanting. What is the Om chanting?
So Om chanting is a group practice where we come together as a group, and it's a practice that lasts 45 minutes, where we chanting Om nonstop. So the Om is the vibration of creation, right? So everything starts from the Om. So the Om is very powerful in that it can help us heal on many levels. Anything that's stuck within the cells of our body, oftentimes even parts of us that may not be as alive or well, once we start chanting the Om, the cells starts to vibrate on a new level that creates space and opportunities for us to change and evolve and heal.
So Om, I've had the discussion with people. Is Om OM or is it AUM? So do you pronounce 2 syllables or do you pronounce the 3 syllables when you chant the Om?
So
that's a big discussion, I think.
Yeah. When we're chanting the Om, it's OM. But the other AUM also has a meaning of itself, but also sometimes we realize that it actually comes in many different religions as well. Like in Christianity is Amen, and in many traditions we'll see that this is repeating because
you have Amen, you have Amin.
Yeah.
It's all more or less the same pronunciation with the same vibrational frequency that is associated with it, right?
Exactly.
Oh, fantastic. And you said 45 minutes. When I practiced the Om chanting, I had a head rush after some time. Why is that?
For me, that would be because you're not used to having as much oxygen naturally happening. Because when we're doing the Om chanting, what we're changing is we're changing our breathing pattern, right? So oftentimes when we're doing that, when we're breathing deep, we're doing deep breathing, we might have a head rush, or we might feel dizzy, is because our brain is not used to having as much oxygen.
And when that happened, after the head rush, you kind of you go into a phase where you feel very connected also.
Yeah.
But then you're like, do I focus on the head rush or do I focus on the connectedness? But at the end of the day, I think the physical aspect of it takes over. But it was a wonderful experience going through the Om chanting. Do you think enough people do it in Mauritius?
There could always be more, I would say.
Why would you encourage more Mauritians to do it, the Om chanting?
What I would encourage people to do is to really, first of all, when they're coming, is one, they're helping themselves to live a more balanced and harmonious life. But also, this is also service to others, because as we're raising our vibration, we're also helping to raise the vibration of others around us, but also of the environment. So it's believed that when we're chanting the Om, it actually radiates out to a minimum of 2 kilometers around us. So we're essentially uplifting the vibration of others and the environment around us, especially in this time of stress and the pandemic. So as we're doing this, we're not just helping ourselves, we're also helping raise the vibration of others. Because like I said before, one person vibrating at the vibration of love influences 750,000 people around the world.
Okay.
Because it's not like a 1 gram increment, it's more like a 1 kilogram increment.
Okay.
So the average vibration, if most of the people say right now is in fear, it's a very low vibration, right? So when we're raising our vibration, we're helping to pick all of these people up to elevate everyone. So it benefits the bigger whole and also benefits the environment, Mother Nature, especially right now, there's a lot of talk on climate change, where Mother Nature is really suffering. When we don't often aware how our lifestyle, we eat something and we say, okay, we go to a picnic, for example, let us use some plastic cups or whatever it is, or even now it's changed to the paper cup.
Jennifer, you've met many people from all walks of life in Mauritius, and of course you mentioned Canada, Guatemala and Canada. What advice would you give people in terms of if something they could practice at home, in terms of a technique that would hopefully improve their lives on a daily basis?
So for me, a most simple technique that people can really practice that will help them in their well-being is to first stop and take time for themselves. Is to really listen to themselves, becoming aware of how they're feeling, of their feelings and emotions, and what it is that they feel that they need, what is out of balance, what they can change. So there are many tools and techniques out there, but if we're not using any of it, it's not going to do anything. Or we can go about and learn many, many things, and again, it can be just mechanical. Because if we not have that awareness and that connection of what do I truly need, how can I really accept and love myself, and not and changing the negative self-talk that we tend to have. We tend to be very critical and judgmental about ourselves and beat ourselves up, but it's more about coming from this perspective. How can I accept and love myself and take care of myself and nurture myself more in whatever it is that I do, whatever I choose to do, and to truly be more present and really enjoying what it is that you're doing. When you're at work, really be fully present at work. Where were you when you're with your family? Really be fully with your family. Because oftentimes we might be physically there, but we're either in the past of what's happened and what we regret, what we would like to change, and which disempowers us because we can't change it, or we're oftentimes, especially now, worrying about the future. You know, am I safe in my job? Will I be able to make enough money? And oftentimes now people are worried about the unknown. Will we have another lockdown? What's going to happen? So it's really always coming back to the present moment. When you find yourself going to the past or worrying about the future, is just really just bring yourself back to your breath, breathing deeply and releasing slowly, and then just becoming aware to how you're feeling in your body and what you need to do, whether it's you need more rest and sleep, you need to change your diet, or you need to exercise, and really do your best to make these little changes. And it doesn't have to be big. Start small and add more, because otherwise when we look at, okay, I need to change all this, it becomes so overwhelming and we don't do anything. So even if it's one thing you do, if it's just deep breathing, that can be effective and enough in itself.
As someone said, our brain is so developed that we suffer from two imaginary diseases, that is memory and imagination, the past and the future.
Exactly.
Jennifer, thank you very much for being with us in the studio of the MBC and sharing lots of your wisdom that you have accumulated over the years. And I wish you all the very best going forward, and keep shining, keep helping people.
Thank you, Roshan, for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this episode of Encounter. I hope you found it as interesting as I have. If you have any queries on the guests or on the topic, drop an email. It's encounter@mbc.itnet.mu. Also, if you have suggestions on the next guest or topic, also drop an email. Until the very next program, goodbye.